the eco-friendly way to travel while saving the planet. There is an eco-friendly way to travel and still have fun. The planning leading up to it, the listing of tourist attractions, the packing, the excitement, the trip, and arrival, every step and process is exhilarating. But have you ever thought that you're hurting the planet? The greening of our travel movement has become one of the fastest growing movements in travel. It aims to allow for sustainable travel while still having fun. A Swedish term, flygscam or flight shaming, was judged responsible for the 8% rise in rail travel. This was as a result of travelers becoming more aware of the environmental impact of air travel, therefore swapping internal flights for train travel. It also turns out that it is not only air travel that has made a carbon imprint, but tourism also has a large hand in it. This accounts for 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions, shopping and food included, according to a report by the journal Nature Climate Change. Now, we don't mean you shouldn't travel again, as some economies also root their sustainability in tourism. So, this begs the question, how do we make our travel greener without letting the environmental effects kill us? Adjust your travel patterns. According to Justin Francis, CEO of Responsible Travel, the only way we can reduce the number of carbon emissions is to fly less. He disagrees with the idea of carbon offsetting schemes. Backing his rejection is a European Commission study finding that 85% of these schemes do not work. So, instead, he suggests we change our travel habits. He also makes known his travel habits when he was younger: one longer holiday during the year, a domestic one, and possibly one more. But that was it. Now, with low-cost aviation comes many more flights and shorter holidays. If we went back to the flights we enjoyed then, we would attain the desired reduction in flights. Planning and research are key. Knowledge is key. According to Miller, you should research things like the fuel efficiency of the plane you plan to travel on, your hotel's stand towards sustainability and community. You could also research the community contributions of your tour operator. If there is a case where you don't find anything, you can always email. Where and when should you go? You should try to reduce the number of places you travel to. Staying in one place for a while helps reduce your carbon footprint. It also allows you to contribute to the local economy in a significant way. Some people assume they should stay away from places that tend to have a lot of tourists, but Valeria Duflot and Sebastian Figuerazzi, who founded Venezia Authentica, disagree. They say that these places need more these thoughtful travelers. They also suggested traveling away from peak periods would also help sustain a year-round economy. Lastly, if you can't do that, try to visit less visited tourist attractions, then decide to see the popular ones once the crowds have reduced. Should you go with a tour operator or not? According to Gregory Miller, going independently would mean contributing directly to the local community. But on the other hand, if you don't feel up to all the research on the eco-credentials of your trip, you can travel with responsible tour operators. These tour operators would select hotels for you, move you away from clear consumption and get you to the correct places at the correct times. You should also make sure you outline how it gives back to the community, manages its resources, and minimizes its footprint. Lastly, according to Valeria Duflot, it is important to keep the tours small. She reiterates that private tours or small groups are the best options. She also says that you should choose locally based operators that are committed to making a positive impact. What do you pack? You should take along a reusable water bottle, straw, and a picnic set. You should also remove all plastic packaging, as you do not want to add to the waste problem at your destination. Additionally, you should see what you can leave or contribute to your destination. You can go on the website packforapurpose.org to see what communities in your destination need. It could be anything ranging from school supplies to medical kits. If you're still not sure, you could ask your hotel. How do you fly? For one, you should fly direct, as takeoff and landing account for a large amount or fraction of emissions. You should also try to pick an effective plan. The research was held by the International Council on Clean Transportation, ICCT, in September 2018. The results showed that the Norwegian were the most fuel-efficient transportation carrier, 33% higher than the industry average. Lastly, you should pick sustainable airports if possible. For example, San Francisco banned plastic bottles in August 2019 and hopes to be carbon neutral by 2021. Where do you stay? Now, the obvious question of where do you stay, hotel or self-catering? Well, this depends on your destination as well. In places with a high rate of tourism like Venice or Barcelona, one should pick a hotel that is eco-friendly in its approach to power, recycling and sewage. You should also check its link to the community. However, if you're staying in other destinations like Bali, you can decide to rent a villa owned by a local family. By doing this, you are putting more money into the community directly rather than staying in a hotel. Lastly, this is also where free market competition can win, as having noted the UN green nature of cruising, Virgin Voyages have come to the rescue. It is expected in 2020 and has committed to advanced wastewater treatment systems. What do you do when you arrive? According to Justin Francis, you should take public transport unless you can book a transfer in a hybrid vehicle. Also, according to 2019 figures from the UK government, a car carrying 4 passengers has a lower footprint per passenger than on a bus. However, it is not as low as a coach or a train. What do you eat? A report was carried out in 2018 by the journal, Nature Climate Change, into tourism's overall carbon footprint. It was suggested that tourism-related agriculture, food, and beverage accounted for almost as many CO2 emissions as passengers' air travel. You should try to cut back on meat and dairy and try to stick to locally produced food in that destination. According to Justin Francis, these local dishes served at local restaurants have a lower carbon footprint than international food. And we must admit, trying out new dishes is a lot more fun. What to do? Valeria Duflot and Sebastian Figuerazzi advise that if you're going to a destination with loads of tourists, it is important you get off the beaten path. This not only eases the flow of footfall but also helps you with spending less, as you are put in from a variety of local businesses. Justin Francis also advises that you hire a local guide to help show you around. Lastly, you should have respect for the local culture, and this would include no phone usage at holy spots or anything that would disrupt local life. You should only do things that will involve giving direct/indirect help to the community. Visiting animals while on travel. According to a study by Oxford University Wildlife Conservation Research Unit, visits to wildlife attractions account for 20 to 40% of global tourism. According to Nick Stewart, Global Head of Wildlife Campaigns at World Animal Protection, any form of attraction that involves direct contact is cruelty. We may not see it, but it's there. The animals are traumatized and life expectancy is considerably reduced. You should also not chase them to have good selfies, but rather take them from a distance where they can engage and disengage at will. So, what do you do? You can go to sanctuaries that do not put on shows or allow direct contact and still have the time of your life. Stay on the road. As much as possible, try to avoid internal flights. You can easily swap them for public transport. We highly recommend trains, followed by coaches, buses and then fully populated cars. Also, if a ferry counts as one of your options, traveling this way as a foot passenger leaves a lower footprint, even less than a train. Well, this does not apply to cruises. Lastly, you should also try to walk and cycle as much as possible. Sunscreen the right way. The estimated amount of sunscreen which ends up on coral reefs every year is about 6 to 14,000 tons. The chemical ingredients, oxybenzone and octinoxate, are very toxic to marine life and make the coral more vulnerable to bleaching. According to Craig Downs, you should buy real safe mineral sunscreen which is based on zinc oxide or titanium.